Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Hope that you're doing well. It's time to dig into Versace Eros, one of the most popular designer fragrance lines on the market today and Versace's best-selling fragrance, at least as of when I'm shooting this video. I'm going to dive into each one of the releases, starting with the original Eros Eau de Toilette up to Eros PARFUM, the newest release. I'll let you know how these smell, some differences between them, and also which fragrance might be best suited for which type of person. So let's go ahead and jump into it and start breaking down Versace Eros. We're gonna go through each one of these in chronological order. So we're gonna start with Eros Eau de Toilette, the original, on to Eros Flame, and then Eros Eau de Parfum, and finally Eros Parfum. Yeah, they really switched those bottles up, didn't they? All right, Eros EDT, the original, the OG. This fragrance for a lot of people is considered a clubbing scent. So a night out fragrance made for younger guys to get attention. It's sweet, it's powerful and strong. It has a lot of vanilla in there, green apple in the opening, and it's great at pulling positive attention. All those reasons combined is why it sells so well, because people love positive attention, and this will get it for you. As I said, this one trends more toward the youthful side of things. So typically that's going to mean that a fragrance is sweeter, maybe a little bit what some people would consider cloying. So the type of fragrance that if you spray too much can kind of overwhelm you. In the opening, you've got a lot of mint and green apple. As it dries down, ambroxan, giving it this modern semi-woodsy feel to it. Again, very clean. And then a buttload of vanilla in the dry down. How much is a buttload? I don't know. A lot. Now, even though Eros Eau de Toilette is considered by a lot of people, as I mentioned before, a club type of fragrance, a night out kind of fragrance, potentially a date night fragrance, it does have more versatility than that because you don't have to go crazy heavy on the trigger. You could spray a little bit less and then wear it in a lot more situations. Actually, I've worn Eros Eau de Toilette specifically to the office. I couldn't even tell you how many times, and have gotten great reactions doing so. So believe it or not, it can actually be a really serviceable work fragrance, casual fragrance obviously as well, on top of being that night out banger. So after Eros Eau de Toilette, we had Eros Flame. There was actually a pretty big gap in between the release of those fragrances. Eros Eau de Toilette came out in 2012. This came out in 2018. So you had 6 years there where the only Eros was the original one. But then from 2018 until now, we've gotten 3 releases, so they've ramped it up with the new versions. So Eros Flame, this fragrance, especially when it first came out, got flamed. A lot of people hated on it. I didn't love it at first. It was the fragrance out of all these that had to grow on me over time the most. But grow on me it did, and I actually really like the citrus that's in here. You've got orange and also lemon, so you have more of a focal point, or a focus rather, on that citrus and the opening of flame as compared to the original Eros. The original Eros, you've got more of that apple and that mint instead of the citrus freshness that you get here. You also have quinoto, pepper, rosemary, geranium, and even a bit of rose in Eros Flame. So you got a lot of different things going on as it dries down. And when you hit the dry down of Eros Flame, it does still have that vanilla that you're gonna find in Eros Eau de Toilette, so still some of that sweetness, but you have more of a concentration on woods in Eros Flame. So you have a little more spice, a lot more woodiness, not quite as much vanilla. You still do have sweetness, but it's contrasted more in Eros Flame, whereas Eros Eau de Toilette, the original, puts that sweetness more forward in the forefront of the scent. The performance on Eros Flame is still very good, and actually you're gonna find that across this entire line of fragrances. They all have very solid performance. Maybe some are a little bit better than others, but it's not like any of these are outliers where one of them is super weak on my skin, but the others are strong. They all get the job done. Eros Flame, I would say though, gets overlooked a little bit more as compared to the original. The original Eros Eau de Toilette, lots of people wear that. Lots of people buy that. It's a staple at this point. Eros Flame, for whatever reason, has not taken off quite as much as the original did, but like I said, it's growing on me. I like it just about as much as the original, frankly. Like Eros Eau de Toilette, Eros Flame also fairly youthful, though I think not quite as much as Eros Eau de Toilette. I think it has a little touch more maturity to it. And I don't say that as a negative toward the original, so don't take it that way. Now, Eros Eau de Parfum is kind of funny. With this one, you can find a wide range of opinions, where some people will say it's so similar to Eros Eau de Toilette, I can't even tell a difference. It's basically the same thing. Other people will say it's Eros Eau de Parfum, slightly tweaked, and still yet others will say, oh, it's the same as Eros Eau de Toilette, maybe initially, and changes as it dries. Yeah, you can find a bunch of opinions on it. So you still have that lemon, you still have that mint in the opening, just like the original, and you have apple, but here it is a candied apple. So a little bit of a different take. You have green apple in Eros Eau de Toilette, so a little bit more freshness in this one. Candied apple in the Eau de Parfum, a little more sweetness, a little bit deeper. You still have that vanilla, once again, in the base, just like the original. You have leather, though, in the Eau de Parfum. Again, giving it a little more depth, a little more richness, slightly more heavy, a little bit smoother than the Eau de Toilette. Not as sweet, though it still does have sweetness. And a little bit like Eros Flame, it brings in more woodiness in the dry down as compared to the original. I've said this in other videos, but Eros Eau de Parfum, to an extent, is like the Goldilocks Eros. So Eros Eau de Toilette maybe is too sweet for some guys, too youthful for some guys. You know, guys that are middle-aged and older, they may not want to rock with that. Then Eros Parfum, which we'll talk about in a moment, is maybe it doesn't have enough of what made the original Eros Eau de Toilette very attractive for people to wear. It loses maybe a little bit of that appeal, that show-stopping nature, that attention-grabbing nature. Maybe some of that is lost in the Parfum, where it's matured even further, at least made more mature smelling, I should say. Kind of talking in circles, but Eros Eau de Parfum splits the difference. Younger guys easily can pull this off, and it's more easily pulled off by middle-aged guys and older as well. You still get that performance, you know, great projection, great longevity, and it still has that compliment factor. And then that takes us to Eros Parfum. This is the newest in the line, also the most expensive in the line, as happens. You know, the original Eau de Toilette, that's the cheapest, and then you get the Eau de Parfum, a little more expensive than that. Then the Parfum, the most expensive, unless they come out with something even higher than that. Looking at you, Dior Sauvage. But as of right now, Eros Parfum, this is the top of the line as far as cost goes in the Eros line. And you're gonna find some differences in the note breakdown here as compared to the other ones in the line. So the mint, which really was one of the focal points of the Eros line, is missing as an official note in Eros Parfum. Instead, you have elemi resin in the top. Now, when I say mint is one of the focal points, I'm talking about the Eau de Toilette and the Eau de Parfum, because in Eros Flame, it was Kinoto that was put in there instead of mint in the top, giving it more of that citric freshness and a little bit of a green feel as well. You do, though, have lemon and orange. So the lemon carries across all of the Eros line, and then the lemon-orange combo is what you'll find in Eau de Parfum and also Eros Flame. Then you've got geranium, lavender, and sage in the mid here. Geranium and sage you can find in the other Eros fragrances. The lavender, not so much. So that's another new introduction to this one, at least as far as the official note breakdown goes. And then in the base, you've got resins like benzoin, you have cashmerean, vetiver, which you can find in other fragrances in the line. And then once again, vanilla, of course. So with Eros Parfum, essentially what they've done is they've taken the Eros DNA, that sweetness, that fresh sweetness, some people would say with a hint of like a bubblegummy feel that you find in the original Eros Eau de Toilette, and to a lesser extent in Eros Eau de Parfum. They've taken that and reined it in even more. So you have a focus more on warmth from the resins that are in Eros Parfum. It's going to be the most mature smelling of the bunch, the most grown up, sophisticated, whatever you want to call it. And as I mentioned before, it's the most expensive. So for younger people, I would say of the entire lineup, Eros Parfum is probably going to be the least attractive one to buy or own. And I can say without a doubt, the most popular is still the original. Eros Eau de Toilette sells the best, more people own this one, more people wear this one, more people re-up and buy another bottle of this one than any of the other fragrances in the lineup. And I would say for younger guys, we're gonna say middle-aged and down as far as age goes, Eros Eau de Toilette is probably gonna be your best bet. Like I said, when I was talking about this one, it has more versatility than some people let on. You could really wear this year round, just in the summer. Don't go crazy with it because it is really sweet and it could overwhelm you or other people. But this is a potential year-round signature scent, and that reflects in how well it sells. Eros Flame is overlooked. This one may need to grow on you a little bit compared to the other ones because it does switch up that opening. But I think if you give it a chance, you'll find out it's actually a really solid fragrance. I wrote this one off initially. Straight up, I didn't think it was that good. But then I gave it another chance, gave it more wearing, and I realized I was wrong. It's actually very, very, very good. And it's the most different of the lineup. And that one is very similar to Eros Eau de Toilette in terms of the versatility. You do have to be aware, though, that it does still have a good amount of that sweetness. And if you spray too much, especially if it's going to be really hot where you're going or you're going to be cramped packed in with a lot of people, it can be overwhelming. And at that point, it's not going to really smell that nice to people, you know, when they're struggling to breathe. That's not good. For fall and wintertime, my choice is the Eau de Parfum. Like I said, when I was talking about it, splits the difference nicely between the Eau de Toilette and the Parfum. Still has nice versatility, sweetness, but not overloaded, and the woodiness and the dry down is a nice touch. Eros Parfum I really enjoyed in my first impressions, and I still do very much enjoy it, but I think that for most people, unless you're just a big fan of Eros and you want to buy up the whole line, they're going to be better suited or better off going with Eros Flame and or Eros Eau de Toilette if you're looking for something that's more versatile across multiple seasons and is going to be an attention-seeking, attention-grabbing kind of fragrance. And if you're looking for something cool weather or something a little more mature in the Eros lineup, Eros Eau de Parfum. With Eros, it's really hard for me to definitively say this one's fourth, this one's third, this one's second, this one's first, because depending on how I'm feeling that day, I'm gonna reach for a different one. You know, if it's late spring and I'm just gonna do something casually, maybe I go Eros Flame because I want more of that citrus and a little woodiness and spice as compared to the main focus of sweetness in Eros Eau de Toilette. But if I'm going maybe in fall at night, out somewhere with friends or something, I would go Eros Eau de Parfum or even Eros Eau de Toilette. So all of them have uses. It's just dependent on what you want the fragrance to do as to which one works best for you. As I mentioned before, you don't need to worry about performance. They're all good. And of course, if you wanted to, you could save money by buying these at discounters. And I will have links in the description to each one of these at discounters. But Versace Eros is not a line that's typically discounted an enormous amount. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me with my overview of Versace Eros, the whole lineup. Let me know in the comments below which of the lineup is your favorite. As always, thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for your support. Stay safe out there. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.